Hey guys, so I know that you guys are used to me doing like a whole intro, like all of that, like that yah stuff. But honestly, there's some changes happening to this channel because honestly, I got tired of like trying to, and I guess you could say impress or like, try to really pull views. I guess you could say like, you only really know unless you start a YouTube like how hard it is to like start in the beginning and get people to watch your video. And that's exactly where I was at and where I am at right now. Not as much as I was when I first started, but definitely like that's how I really felt like I had to do things that other YouTubers were doing just so that I could pull views myself. Because if you know you're a content creator, it's very hard when you want to create videos and you want to create content, but you don't really have people watch your stuff. And so you almost feel like you're creating, but no one gets to see the work that you put in. Because, editing is a whole monster in itself. You'll see anyone who is on YouTube talk about how like editing just takes a long time and it's so stressful trying to record videos that people would actually watch. And you're basically doing this trial and error thing, and it can be very frustrating at times. So I just want to say thank you to all the people who do watch me, and even though some of you are not subscribed to me, thank you so much for watching me, because you have no idea how much that has helped me and wanting me to continue this whole being on YouTube thing. Another thing was just like, listen, I don't consider myself a YouTuber. I'm not trying to be a YouTuber, and it's one of the reasons why I wasn't consistent with YouTube, because I didn't want to be considered a YouTuber. I honestly just wanted to do this. First it was like a passion project, and now it's like wanting this YouTube channel to be an extension of myself, where people get to know who I am and I can be candid in a way that I feel like I couldn't be in front of people. But doing it on camera for some reason makes it easier now. And on top of that, I want to thank you, because I started this channel with no subscribers, and then I started it with 5 subscribers. And now, ending 2020, and it is, let's look. It is December 22nd, and it's Tuesday, so we're going to remember that. And I have 21 subscribers, ending the year with 21 subscribers. That's an accomplishment to me, because I could have ended the year with 5 subscribers like I started, but you saw something in me that you went ahead and you said, I'm going to subscribe to the girl. And that makes me happy. That makes me hella happy. And I just wanted to start off this video giving off my appreciation, because I do this because of you guys. Also, I don't know if y'all have noticed, right? I don't know if y'all have noticed, but the last time you saw me in this robe right here, in this bathrobe right here, okay, was about 3-4 months ago when I did a girl talk video. It was an hour long, forgive me, because I really didn't know what exactly I wanted to put in the video, but I felt it was so good that I wouldn't want to cut nothing out. This was not going to be a whole hour, so just letting y'all know. But yes, the last time you saw me in this cute kimono, it was 3 months ago, and we were talking about some things, but I was talking about myself. And I remember the last time I said that, I was talking to somebody. Things have changed. Things have changed a lot, like, and for the better, but like, I'm not in that situation no more. I wouldn't call it a relationship, but let's just say I would call it a situationship, where it was like I didn't know necessarily what I wanted to do. And usually, I'm just going to say this before I even start the video, is that when you are in between situations, and what I mean by that is if you don't really know how you feel about that relationship, or you don't know how you feel about that person, and you don't know if y'all mesh, don't rush anything. Don't do anything that you do not want to do. Like, put yourself first. Like, that was one of the things that I didn't do, and I was just dragging it along. And I have a history of dragging along my things that do not work for me anymore. But I'm telling myself that in 2021, anything that does not work for me, I will not be bringing it with me. Because I like to drag along dead things. And we want to get rid of dragging along dead things in our lives and pulling up things that do not uplift us, that do not encourage us. And I'm going to talk to y'all more about it in this video, but I just wanted to start off the video like that. So let's go ahead and get with the video. Yeah, so the name of this video was supposed to be Single and Satisfied. But I'm going to be completely honest with you. Some things have changed. A lot of things have changed since the last time we had an entire girl talk. Let me tell you. Okay, the person that I was talking to, I'm no longer talking to. There was just some revelations that I had. I have realized that I have a pattern of being in relationships with people who misunderstand me. I have a pattern of being in relationship with people that disregard me, dismiss me. Like, if we're gonna do this, I have to do this right. So I'm just gonna explain some things to y'all. When I was like around, I guess you could say like 14-ish, 13-ish, 14-ish, I call it a relationship because I don't want to disregard what it felt like and what it was in the moment at that time. And I will say that it was my first relationship. Usually when you are growing into a young adult and you get into a relationship, especially around that time, like 15, 16, 13, 14, one of the things that you realize is people will be like, oh, nah, yeah, you can't be in a relationship, blah, blah, you don't know what love is. But the fact is that God never tells us that there is a time limit to love. And I actually loved this person. I loved him very much. And being in that situation was very hard for me because what you don't realize is that even as a kid, when you're growing into yourself, is that you carry some things that are taught by your parents. Like, someone taught you these toxic traits, and so I had some of those toxic traits in the person I was talking to. Had some very toxic traits that I felt like we both paid the price for at the end, and it affected me for another 4 years. Because it brought out some daddy issues, it brought out some mommy issues. It brought out things about myself that I didn't like, things about myself that I didn't even know existed. And so to not have to go through that again, I spent a very long time by myself. And in between that time, I did things that I wasn't proud of, I entertained situations that I should not have entertained. And I got in the middle of things that were a detriment to me, and mentally, verbally, and physically. I went through in those 5 years a time where I was mentally abused, verbally abused, physically abused by men in my life. And so it was very hard for me to comprehend this idea of what exactly loving myself was and what exactly loving someone else was. Not just a man, but in general. I went to a time where I hated myself, and I used to dress in baggy clothes, and I used to dress like really like just tacky or whatever. There was times where I just didn't want to take showers, or when I would take a shower, I wouldn't look myself in the mirror because I was so disgusted by what I was looking at. And this is me being candid. Like, I know I'm not the only one who went through a time where you just are disgusted by what you see in the mirror. And that was me at a time in my life where I thought, and I was looking for love because, I was going through it with my dad and I was having a very hard time. And going through it with him hurt because I was a daddy's little girl and I didn't feel loved, and I felt like I had to prove myself to my dad that I was worthy of his attention and worthy of his love. Because, sometimes parents don't realize this, but, my dad used to compare me to my big twin sister. My big sister, she's my twin. And used to compare me to her, and why can't you be like her? And why can't you do things like this? And, he would run his mouth to like family members. And so those family members would come back to me and tell me like how bad of a child I was and that I needed to be more grateful. And it was just really hard, like the entire situation. And I paid for that. And I know that now, and I realized that last night. Like I was like, shit, like I really paid for that. Because then all of a sudden, I wouldn't even say all of a sudden, but it was something that was developed, that I'm over here struggling with relationships with men. And one of my first relationships was with the person that I first dated when I was 13. And I'm sorry, y'all, the camera had stopped recording and I don't know where it stopped, but I'm gonna go where I was at. So that's how it led to the relationship that I was in when I was 13, you know. And being with this person, you know, it was great or whatever, you know, that little kid love, like it was all of that. And I absolutely loved him, and I loved his character, and I loved who he was growing into. But then it was when things got bad that it was like really hard to come out of, because when he would get upset, or like, let's start here. When he had decided to call off our relationship, I was not aware. And what I mean by that is that he was talking to his ex while he was in a relationship with me. And I know some of you are going to be like, oh, you know, relationships, you know, especially around that age, it don't matter. But it does. Because where did you learn, especially at that age, where did you learn that it was okay to disregard the woman that you are with and be with someone else while you're with this woman? Because you cannot honor yourself and dishonor someone else, because then you dishonor yourself in the process. And so in doing so, you dishonor yourself, because you're not being honest with yourself, and you're not being honest with the person that you chose to be with. And so it was a betrayal to me, but at the time it felt like a betrayal, because I was having a hard time differentiating whether or not it was me or, you know, it was him. And he had put it all on me for the reason why he decided to go on and be with this woman. And while he was doing that, it was like he completely decided to leave me afterwards and be with the woman that he had cheated on me with. And when he did that, you know, when they would fight or they would have an argument, or when he felt like the relationship was not going to last, like when I was around, he would go and he would text me and be like, hey, what you doing? You know those texts where they be like, hey, big head? That's him to me, okay? He used to text me that, and I would just, you know, he knew that I was very vulnerable at that time. I was very vulnerable. And he took advantage of my vulnerability and used it for his advantage, which was so that he could have, I guess you could say, some time of relief. Because, and this was a pattern that he had always had over the years, where, you know, when he was in relationship, if there was something wrong, or he didn't feel heard, or he felt like the relationship wasn't working out, or he was just in pain, the way that to relieve that pain and to release it for the moment would be by having sex and or being in the company of someone else. And I guess you could say that too, you know, making his advance for to have sex or whatever. And when it came to me, let's just say I was always his go-to for things like that. Like, it was always like, oh, she's around. Like, I was always the available one. And I know y'all have seen videos that warn women about being available, being too available to a man. And, you know, I was just very vulnerable, and I didn't like myself, and I was very insecure, and he knew that. And so of course he's going to use it to his advantage, and every time, you know, he was having them issues, he would just come around. And of course, I was just happy because I felt like, okay, there's someone who actually wants me. And because I went through a time where I didn't feel wanted, I didn't feel loved, I went through rejection and abandonment, things that I was feeling, and I leaned on him to heal those things and to feel better, not knowing that this was someone who was only there for his personal gain, and he wasn't there for me. Even though he would picture it up real nice, he wasn't there for me, which took me a very long time to understand. And what I learned from that relationship and doing that for so long was that I had feelings of rejection and abandonment all the time. And I always felt like what's wrong with me? Like there's something wrong with me for the reason why this person doesn't want to be with me, or anyone wants to be with me, and why and before that, I had always had where I knew that I was pretty, and so I would have men, young men, older men, and whatever you mean older is like, imagine being like 12 years old and there's like 18, 19-year-olds like going like, what's up to you, right? I always knew that I was pretty, so I had attention on me a lot. And I knew that, and this isn't me trying to be like, ooh, it really wasn't like that. Like, I just knew that because of, my age, I know how to also play in that and why they preyed on me. But in general, that's what I went through. And going through that was hard because you don't always want that attention. And I just felt disgusting, I was very disgusted with myself because the only men that wanted to be around me were the ones that wanted to get in bed with me. And at that time, I wasn't doing nothing in anyone's bed, but these are people that wanted to take advantage of me. And I couldn't understand if it was me for the reason why that was happening. And so now, fast forward, just so that this isn't like too slow, like fast forward, I went ahead and I was in, after him or during him, I had something happen where, I was physically, verbally, all that abused. And going through that was very hard too. It was very hard going through that. I still found myself trying to talk about it, but it's still hard. But I went through that situation and it felt like a repeat from the first time. It really did. It felt like a repeat. And I hated that. And it made it worse because this lasts like another 4 years before I was actually able to get away from it. And even in thinking I got away from it, I didn't really get away from it. It still even affects me now. And when I was talking to this person, let's just say that he just made me feel like I was very delusional. And the first guy that I was with also made me feel very delusional. He made me feel like when I would tell him my emotions or when I tell him how I felt, it was always like, oh, here we go again. Or it would be like, oh, you making that up. They always made me feel, every man that I was talking to made me feel very delusional about my emotions. And they would tell me that how I feel is not really how I feel. And so they were very manipulative in that way to get what they want. And that's what I dealt with every guy that I was with. And I'm not saying that I dated hella people, because I didn't. I maybe have spoken to 3 people in my lifetime, but I've dealt with 2 people who were very abusive in every way. And so dealing with those 2 people, all of them had things in common that were very problematic. And I was just I didn't see my dad do any of those things to my mom. where would I have learned that from? And it was just really hard because I'm in this place in my life where now I'm like, I want a relationship, and I denied myself. And I know I'm not the only one who does this, when we deny ourselves what we truly want because we're scared. And I knew that fear is something that is not of God. And so I could not live my life in fear of what would happen. Because in everything that we do, we take a risk. I was like, I felt like I was jumping off the apartment and I was falling, and I never stopped falling. And that's where I was at. And having to get out of that situation was just very hard because I didn't know how. And I felt like, and it got to the point where I settled and I told myself that the only requirements that I had for my relationships was that I wanted someone who was consistent, and someone who respected me, and someone who was consistent, always around, and respected me. And when I told my sister this list, she told me, yo, that sounds like just human decency. For someone to treat you well, for someone not to yell at you. And I looked at her and I was like, you know what, you're right. Because then when I had all those things, which was the relationship I was talking about with you guys in that chat, when I had all those things, I was so unhappy. Like, I didn't like the way that he talked to me sometimes. I didn't like the way, because it reminded me of patterns of other men that I had been talking to before that, who thought it was okay to speak to me in ways that I said, I don't want you to speak to me like that. Like, I could never understand why, when I say I don't want to be spoken to in a certain way, why my boundaries are being questioned. But because my boundaries had always been ignored, I didn't know what it looked like to demand self-respect. And so I let people disrespect me. And although I wasn't okay with it, I internalized it, and I took it as something that was my fault, because every time I was disrespected, somehow they were able to pull it back on me, that I was responsible for the disrespect. And so I didn't have self-respect for myself. I didn't love myself. I didn't care for my well-being. And I was exhausted in all ways, and I was in pain. And it was very hard for me to heal from that pain. I'm someone I try to be very straightforward about my emotions and communicate how I feel. And because, you know, when you have people that speak two different love languages, you kind of have to always go through this interpretation thing. And it can feel like a tit for tat, but it's not. It's just you wanting to learn what the other person feels and is like, and you want to learn from that. And so I was trying to be a very good communicator in that way, with always asking for clarification when he would do certain things. And I was with him, and being with him or talking to him, he was someone who didn't clarify things for me. He would leave things the way that they were. If he was upset, he wouldn't tell me. And then it would come out in other ways. And then he would hold me responsible for how he felt, even though he didn't communicate it to me. And so I was dealing with someone who was very passive aggressive. And I can't deal with passive aggressive people, because passive aggressive people dismiss how they feel. So how can you be with someone who dismiss how they feel? Because they will also dismiss you. And so that's what I was going through. I'm like, you're dismissing me every time you talk. Every time you talk, you don't want to talk, you don't want to listen. When I talk, you don't want to listen to understand. You just want to say what you got to say, and that's it. I don't work like that, because to me, that's not a relationship. To me, that's as if this is from father to daughter, and or parent to child, and you're telling me this is how things are going to be, and that's it. And for me, that's not the type of relationship that I wanted in my life, and I don't want that for myself. And so I was trying to get out of the toxicity that I was used to in every relationship that I had been in. You know, I have this thing where I can be very uncomfortable with men. I can be very uncomfortable with them. I can be very standoffish. And I have to ease my way into, okay. I have to ease my way into relationship with them, ease my way into friendship with them, ease my way, because it doesn't mean that I don't try, but it doesn't also mean that I don't get scared sometimes, even thinking about being in relationship with anyone. And that's why I would cancel myself and tell myself, you're not going to be in a relationship, you don't want a relationship. There was a time, because I've always wanted to be a mother, and I still do, and I would tell my sister, like, I'm okay with adopting, I'm okay with, like, having my babies and just me and my babies. And she looked at me and she was like, that's funny coming from you, because you always wanted to be in relationship. You've always wanted that family dynamic. And I looked at her and I was like, at first I really disagreed with her, and I strongly disagreed with her. When I thought about it, I was like, how dare I cancel myself from something that I truly, truly want in my life. That's something that I truly desire in my life, to be happily married. To be with a man who loves me and respects me and is compassionate, who is gentle, someone who is attentive, someone who cares about me and is just as concerned about me as I am with him. I'm no longer going to deny myself that love and that respect that I want, not just from men, but from myself. And so I have to want it for myself first, for other people to want that for me, but also to respect me. And also when they see me, they see the light that I walk in and they respect it. That's what I wanted. That is exactly what I wanted. That when a man saw me, it was like, she's a cat, she's a keeper. Not that I'm just going to lay in bed with her, disrespect her, dishonor her while I dishonor myself. Because I'm tired of dishonor. It's something that runs rampant. I was like, I'm going to update my list. And I did. I updated my list. Because I realized when I only had those 3 things on my list, I got those 3 things. But I was unhappy. And so now I've realized I need to expand my list. I need to do better. So I expanded my list, things, and I said what I needed from my husband and what I wanted from my husband and what I don't want in my husband. Because I have realized there are just some things, and that it's called creating boundaries, honey. And then on top of that, to just put it up a notch, which some of you are not going to like, is what I did was I went ahead and I put all the things that I need to work on. Like I do not like being questioned, right? I feel rejected when, I feel disrespected when, I feel dismissed when you do this. Words like this, and this make me feel this. Identifying and getting to know myself for me, but also so that I'm aware of that when I go and I'm in relationship with someone else. Is to be just open up. I want us, so that in my next video, we can open up candid conversation about unhealthy relationships, abuse in relationships, childhood abuse. I want us to be able to, you guys to ask questions about that, you guys to feel comfortable to talk about that, and really set the ground for healing in 2021, because that's what we're doing. We're not going to be in pain in 2021. We're going to be healing and going through our transition in 2021. This year in 2020 was a year of awakening and transition for me, as it has been for everyone. But I want this to be personal to you, that you sit down with yourself and that you just tell yourself that it gets better, but also that telling yourself, I love me, even when others don't. And being able to say that even then, God loves me when I don't love myself, when I don't have the capability to love myself. He loves me anyways. And that when wanting to find someone who in your growth, in your progression, and even in your shortcomings will love you no matter what. People love inviting people in your life who are not jealous of you. Ooh! Inviting people in your life who are not jealous of you. Inviting people in your life who are happy for you, who encourage you, who build you up and ask for nothing in return. Because God didn't have to do what he did, but he did it out of love for us. And I know some of you are going to be like, why are we going to church? I don't want to go to church. Because I feel like there's no other way to look at it than to look at it from that lens. Because I know, especially for the person that I will be with, okay, he will be someone who loves me the same way that God loves me. And he may not, he won't be able to love me exactly. He won't be able to love me in the same way that God loves me. But what I want is someone who can, who wants to be the representation of who God has been in our lives and who God is. And that's what I want. So I guess you could say there's some growth from the last time we talked, sis and sir. I feel good. I know in my last video I looked chopped and I have my same hair flat ironed or whatever. I was gonna curl it in this video, but I changed my mind, y'all. But I don't know, like, I looked chopped in my last video and I was like, I have to get dolled up in this video because I cannot look chopped no more. Like, that's done. But yeah, you guys, talk to me. Talk to me about what have you learned? Like, I just want you to know that you're not by yourself. You're not by yourself. I just wanted to have a conversation with you guys. If you guys enjoyed this video and you guys want me to be more candid with you guys and have more sit-down conversations like this, because this is a conversation. This just isn't just me running my mouth. If you want more conversation like this, go ahead and tell me in the comment section below. Also, let's start the conversation in the comments below. Tell me your story. Tell me about you. Tell me what you've learned. Tell me some things that would be good for me. On top of that, make sure that you like this video. Make sure that you share it with someone who you think needs to hear what we're talking about. And make sure you subscribe if you are not already subscribed. And for those of you, I forgot to say this, who do not know me, I am Jeliza Alvarez. And so if you want to see more videos like this, if you like the conversation that we had today and you want to be a part of the next one, I am not judging you, sis. I would love to see you in my next video, and thank you so much for your love and support. And I hope that you guys end this year with a bang, because what I have ready for you guys for 2021, y'all don't even know, but I hope that y'all keep it with me. And for all of those people ask me about doing vlogs, my life is not that interesting. That's the only reason why I haven't had vlogs like that, because I just be in my house and I just got my job. So I don't even know. But yeah, we will see. We're going to see, sis. We're going to see. But anyways, I love all of you. Thank you again for your support. And I'll see you guys in my next one.